Welcome back, Cozy Travelers. If you are new to this channel, thank you for clicking on this video. And if you're coming back, I want to welcome you back. If my voice sounds a little weird today, I am getting over a random cold I got. And I say random because I actually work from home, so I don't see a lot of people, but I still managed to get sick. So that's been fun. Thankfully, I'm on the tail end of it, so I'm not feeling as bad as I had felt this past week. And so that means having enough energy to do this week's video. And for this one, I really wanted to make a video testing out different papers. And the reason for that is, if you guys know Lisa Pen and Paper, they are a YouTuber who does videos on pens and inks, and she has a YouTube channel, which is where I first started watching her stuff, and then I followed her on Instagram. Put her information right here. If you're not following her, definitely do so. Her videos are really fun, long format, chatting about, you know, just pens, inks, life. I find it really entertaining, so especially when you're doing stuff and you just want to have something in the background, like having her voice there is really fun. But we had done some exchanging of like pen pal Happy Meal stuff, and she sent me a really fun kit of different papers. And yeah, she sent each one labeled, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have so much fun testing this out, that I was like, why not make a video kind of dissecting these different papers, because for some of these, I'm trying them for the first time. And so I was like, might as well have it be out there, like the testing. And I know there's various people have tested different paper. So I wanted to kind of do my own little take on it, where I did different types of ink. So I actually wrote down the one I wanted to highlight. So like one with the high sheen, something with shimmer, something that either had dual shade or chroma shading, and then something really dark that I've seen people complain that might bleed through or have some ghost, like really deep ghosting to bleeding. So I picked these colors. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test them on each one, write it down, go through the list of the 4, let everything dry, and then bring you in so you can see it. I'm also gonna pull in another sample of the same strips that I had tested prior, because I did, spoiler alert, already test some of these out on these papers, not these specific colors, but just the papers in general, because I wanted to also see how much of the bleed through and ghosting there was. So the only one I didn't do that on was this one. So I'm gonna be doing this one off screen when I am swatching each color, and then that one will have that color, not the one that I had done previously. So I kind of hope that makes sense. Let's get into it. I'm excited, and yeah, let's start. Okay, so for the first one, I wanted to play around with a color that I noticed had a good amount of sheen, which for me was the Ferris Wheel Press Green with Curiosity. So we're gonna start off with that one. If I could open this bottle. There we go. Sometimes I really squeeze them tight to make sure that they don't open. Okay, let me make sure I have enough. So I'm gonna do a circle sample first. I wanna make sure I have enough. There we go. Actually, as I'm doing this, I realized I didn't even mention which papers I'm doing. So I am testing out the Rhodia 80 GSM, which GSM, if you don't know, means the weight of the paper. Well, GSM does, not the number. And so when a number is low on a paper, when you see the description, it is pointing out how thin the paper is. So Tomo River paper is a really popular one. A lot of people have used it in their planners, and that one is a 52 GSM. So the paper is very light. And so Rhodia is 80, meaning it's a bit thicker. And a lot of the times when you have bullet journals, those are like at least like 100 to maybe like 120 GSM. So it's like very thick, and a lot of the times really good for like multimedia stuff and things like that. So If you're ever wondering what GSM means, it's usually the thickness of the paper. But like I was saying, I haven't really talked about the papers that I'm testing out today. So Rhodia is the first one at 80 GSM. The reason I'm testing that is I use a Rhodia little notebook to do a lot of like event plans and stuff. Like if I'm going to an event, if I'm looking for an exhibitor, a lot of the times I will post maps into stuff. Let me see. Because recently I went to an event in Brooklyn. Yeah, here we go. And so I printed out the map, and I like to, a lot of the times, like mark down who I wanted to see and stuff like that. So this is the notebook I always use, and I always use fountain pen paper, like fountain pens for it. So it's interesting to see how it kind of reacts to the others. Midori I use actually a Midori blank notebook for work, just because it's a lot of projects, so I like to keep the projects separate. And so this paper notebook is the one I already had for it, and I just enjoy it. The Nebula Tomo River paper is, I believe, just your standard like Sanzen 52 GSM TRP, but this is just the one Colorverse itself released. The Maruman Nemazine, I think that's how it's pronounced. I've never tried. Same for the bank paper, Usari, and Irofol. So these are all the four I've actually never tried, and then these three I have. So yeah, I'm gonna, now that I've swatched it, I'm gonna just write the name, or at least maybe just write FWP, because I at least want to write some samples on here. Or maybe I'll write the whole thing. Curiosity. Right? Sometimes I look at words and I'm just like, that looks right, but it also doesn't. So that's spelt wrong. Whoops. Curiosity. But yeah, I find it so fascinating. Because for me, I used Hobonichi first before going into my fountain pen journey. I actually started using Hobonichi back in 2020 around COVID. And so I knew the paper was really thin, and like a lot of people were talking about how it was fountain pen friendly, but at the time I didn't use fountain pens. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I just used mostly gel pen, and when I got my Hobonichi, I got introduced to the Jetstream, which is ballpoint, and that one was so smooth. So I love that ink, like formula for that pen. So I was really just using that. Like I was using the one pen gel pens, and I forgot what, there was another one that I was using that has like the Coletto, the high-tech C Coletto pens. So I didn't really have any issues like with bleed through or stuff like that until I started getting into fountain pens and realizing that different papers react differently to it. Like some will feather, some will bleed through, some will have more. Oh, there we go. See, talking and writing sometimes throws me off. Some will have bleed through, some will have maybe just a little ghosting. So for me, I find that fascinating. And of course, like if you're doing stuff in it, you want to be able to have something that works across the board, or maybe just something different. Maybe you like something that shows shimmer better, or something that shows sheening better. Maybe you like that you want it to show the vibrancy or the shading. So this kind of experiment is really fun for me just to have reference to. And if maybe someone is like looking to try a different notebook, they could kind of refer to these videos that show up and are just like, hey, like I really like how that color looks on this versus something else. But long-winded explanation that I just really wanted to experiment and see how different papers reacted with different types. So yeah, so here we just got all the swatches done and the writing done for Ferris Wheel Press Green with Curiosity, and that is one of my high sheening colors. If it wasn't going to be this one, it was definitely going to be like a Birmingham, like Interstellar Bronze or something like that, because those are really crazy sheening inks. but I just happen to have a sample of this ready and on hand. But yeah, so the next one I wanted to test out is something with some really good shimmer. For that, I have the Jaraban Kyanite de Nepal, and this is a like deep blue with silver shimmer. Right now I'm just trying to mix it around a bit. Make sure I clean my tools, which at this point, if you've watched a few of my videos, you've seen these through many times before. My little Sakura Glaster and my Iro Utsushi dip pen in fine. They're my tried and true. I carry them everywhere I go to an event where there's ink, because it's just so easy to clean off. Like, as long as you have like a damp piece of paper, like this is clean, and the same for the dip pen. Alrighty, so swapped out in my little holder here, and let's get to dipping. Now, I am fully obsessed with shimmer inks, so I'm really fascinated to see how these all react to a shimmering ink. And actually after this one, I'm just gonna put this down and agitate it again, because I want to make sure that we're getting the full, because some of it already settled after even just a dip for this one, that each one gets a solid swirling of shimmer in it, because I don't want to get to the ear full and then there's no more in there, or at least that it's all settled. So let me do one more, shake it one more time, get that last one, and then write everything. So yeah, I don't know what else I'll probably be talking about on this video. This will probably just be a chatty me talking to myself. Not all these videos are technically that, but yeah, this is a pretty straightforward, like putting the colors down, putting the swatch down, and then just waiting for it to dry. But I can't believe it's already August. Like the summer flew by. I'm also just gonna put kyanite. A moment to make sure I'm spelling that right. Okay, I'm just gonna write that, but there's a full name to it. Or maybe I'll put the first one as the full name. Nepal. This is a really wet ink. Yeah, I went to the pool for the first time, not in my life, but like for the summer, just last week. And I was like, I don't know why it took me so long to get to the pool at least once this summer, but it did. And it was really fun. I enjoyed it. If you are anywhere on the East Coast, you know how hot it's been this summer. And I think that's why I haven't really been out much. I have been to a couple of events. If you went to the Yoseka spacewalk, I didn't go, but a bunch of the Cozy Travelers went. So if you go to any event in New York City, you'll probably pass by one of us, which is really kind of fun. The next ones I'm probably thinking of going to is Yoseka announced that they're doing the Hobonichi previews starting the 22nd. And so I'm gonna try to see if I could go to that, but I'm definitely gonna go to there's at the same time another event in Brooklyn for Hobonichi starting on the 1st at Sibone. And they're doing also, and I believe that one's held by Hobonichi themselves. Also, why do I keep spelling kyanite wrong? Here we go. So that's gonna be fun to go to. I don't know what day yet. Yoseka's is, I believe, August 22nd to September 7th. And the one at the other location is September 1st to September 14th. I want to definitely at least stop by the Yoseka one before the 1st to see what I'm gonna be getting, because regardless of whether I need to get a new cover or not, I definitely am still gonna be getting a Vec. Am I gonna get it there? That I don't know yet. I'm gonna contemplate that. But I definitely want to just see the covers in person, because I've never been able to get into one of the preview events, and so like I really want to see them beforehand, because most of the time I'll just like do a spreadsheet and see like what I really want to get for Hobonichi. But anybody who follows Hobonichi knows that it's very different this year because of tariffs, because of a lot of other stuff. So I don't know if I'm gonna be getting Hobonichi on the stateside, or if I will get it in Japan, because I do have a Japan trip planned for this year. And so part of me is like, it is later than the Hobonichi day, which is September 1st, but part of me is like, you're probably better off just waiting. But regardless, I still want to see the covers. And yeah, pause on that conversation for a second as I go into the third ink, which is a dual shading one from Sailor. This is the Monyo line in Fuji. This is one of my favorite Monyo inks. The other one is Koke. And yeah, I just wanted to test out one of my favorite properties, which is shading. I find myself going towards like medium. I don't think I'm definitely like a broad person when it comes to my nib, but when you have a dual shading, chroma shading type ink in a thicker nib, you get some really cool like writing samples. Also, I'm really hoping I can fit the last one. Fortunately, this isn't a really big name. But yeah, going back, so I'm gonna see if I hold out on purchasing my Hobonichi, but I definitely still want to go to the event and maybe just see if they have like fun stamps, because I remember last year watching the Hobonichi pop-up. I think it was in LA, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could have gotten this stamp. I'm a big stamp person, so hopefully I could go to that. I'm aiming to go to both, and then so both the Yoseka and the other one, and hopefully I can bring you guys with me. I'm gonna try to do some vlogging, which I haven't done on this channel, so that'll be really fun. Just kind of bring you along, show you what the event looked like. Oh, that was way too much ink. Hold on. I dipped it and I didn't clean off the edge. Here we go. Sailor Fuji. But does anybody have any plans for the remaining month of summer? Or does it not matter? Can you just vacation whenever? I'm personally not a huge fan of vacationing in the summer because I don't do well in the heat. So if I was going anywhere in the summer, it'd probably be somewhere cooler. And typically in the winter, I'll try to go somewhere warmer. But besides the Japan trip, I don't really have a lot of other trips planned. I feel like it's really just events. So like the shaking the table. The Commonwealth show in Boston, I might be going to. If you're going to the Empire show in New York, I will definitely be there Sunday. Contemplating whether or not I want to go for both days, but I know I'm definitely going to be there on Sunday. So I'm hoping to run into some people. And if you spot me, I will be having my Cozy Travelers stamps. So you could always ask for a stamp and I will give you that. And we'll see if I get stickers made in time. So if I still have those, definitely ask and I'll be happy to give you one. Alrighty, coming into the last one here, we're gonna do I've taped this on here, it's funny. It's an acrylic stand from Promised Neverland. I had gotten a bunch of these. I got the set and they're all holding stationery, Again, this is before I was actually even into like stuff, so funny enough, like this is so funny, like fountain pen and stuff. And then I think the one of them has ink, a protractor, and then like scissors. But I'm doing Yamabudo as the last one because Yamabudo is one of those really like staining inks, and it's very like, I feel like pigmented. So I've heard a lot like that this will sometimes bleed through papers, and so I'm gonna see if that's the case here. And I'm also want to maybe swatch even like a dot on the other pages so that we could see what it looks like on the back side, because all these are pasted down, so you're not going to be able to see the other side, but I definitely want to show everybody what it looks like on not just the front, which is, you know, the side you read, but the back side, to see if it's going to be one of those things where you have to like write and then skip a page and then write on the other page, which on the Tomo River paper notebook I have, which is what I use for a lot of my videos, I have to do that. Like I'll have to skip because I'll doodle a lot or like swatch things in here without just like any rhyme or reason. And so if I do that, like I have to be wary of like, so like the other side of this has no writing, because if I did have writing, you would see ghosting. And in my regular Hobonichi, I don't really care about that because I put stickers and stuff, and that's not a big issue for me. This is Pilot. Yeah, Pilot. So I think that's an important kind of quality to see in the paper. All right, let me. All right, Yamabudo here. For you, what are your favorite sheening, shimmer, shading, and maybe high pigmented inks? So I'm always fascinated, like these, I think the sides, no, Fuji's probably up there, but it's probably not my favorite of the dual shading, but it's definitely up there, like my top 5. For shimmer, for me, that's kind of tough. Probably is Dominant Industries, Le Falaise. From there, it's a lot of the Wearing Gold custom mixes I've made with the Wearing Gold shimmer potions. I have it in Earl Grey, and I absolutely love that color. Oh, I did not get enough ink in that one. And Maputo, here we go. Alrighty, so we've swatched everything here. I'm gonna give it some time to dry, and then once that's done, I'm gonna walk everybody through what they look like on each paper and what it looks like on the back. So be right back. Okay, so everything has mostly dried now. The only thing I added while it was drying is on the side I put Sheen, Shimmer, Shade, and then I didn't really know what to like name the bottom one. So I just put Deep Tone, and just keep in mind that's what I'm putting as like trouble inks that are like very pigmented and like are known to be like bleed through inks. That's what I think of like with Yamabudo, because like I find that a lot with like purples and like magentas and burgundies, that happens, and that's one of those inks that I was talking about. But let's start off with sheening. So again, I'm gonna try to bring this up just so we could kind of move it around. But very interesting things that I've noticed while this is drying. On the Rhodia, it is super absorbent. Like I remember putting this on this and it basically dried almost instantaneously. And what's interesting is that there is no sheening on this whatsoever. Like the paper is so absorbent that it just kind of just leaves almost like a solid green, which is very interesting because when you see it next to the Midori and the Tomoe River paper, there is a lot of sheening here, which is what I really love to see. And the Midori is more of a cream tone versus the Tomoe River paper, which is more of like a white. So I do believe they do have it in cream as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that like on mine, it's like this white tone. And both of these show the sheening really nicely in not just the swatch, but the writing. Like I see it in person in the writing, which is really nice. Moving on to the three that this is my first time trying. The only one that I was really impressed by was the Usari. And the aerofol was actually really nice. It did show some of it, not as much as the other ones. But it did show it, like it sits on there really nicely, that red sheen. The bank shows it a little bit as well. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. The Maruman is probably just above the Rhodia paper, where like the sheen is almost non-existent. And I don't know, it kind of almost like sits on the paper oddly. Like you could almost see the swirls I made when I was putting the ink down. So I would say, let me maybe check off the ones that I find. Oh, let me see that pen right here. That I find did that test really well. So for sheening, I'll definitely give it to Midori, TRP, which is Tomoe River paper, and Usari. So maybe we'll do top threes. Yeah, so those are the top three that take it for the sheening category. Moving on to Shimmer, they all, and again, because I really swirled it and wanted to make sure that that shimmer showed, they all really actually showed off the shimmer really well. With that said, because Rhodia is again very absorbent, the shimmer sits on top and the color almost like desaturates. Like these two are the same color, but it stays so much more vibrantly on the Midori paper versus this. So although you get more shimmer in this than you do in the Midori, I personally like the look of the Midori paper better because you keep the vibrancy and almost even some of the shading and sheening from this ink with the shimmer, which is really cool. I could say that probably for both the Tomoe River paper and the Midori paper, they both keep the vibrancy, the depth of the ink, and the shimmer on top. Moving on to the next four, the one that impressed me the most on this one was the aerofol. You could see there some of the sheening even comes through. So like, even though aerofol didn't win it out here on the sheening, at least with that swatch on the three here, it really was fighting for that fourth place spot, even almost maybe the third. And if I was including this one as it, I probably would have included this one instead of the Usari, but specifically with that ink, I feel like that one took it. With the shimmer, I feel like definitely the aerofol took it, where like you get the depth and sheening of this ink. This one was really fighting for that position now in third. Bank is all right. Again, there is a little bit of depth. These actually honestly look the exact same. The difference is for me in the writing. There is a lot of feathering in the, let me see if I can get that up there. There's a lot of feathering in the writing versus in the Maruman. So for me, that is definitely not a plus. It didn't happen with the green, but it definitely happened with the blue. So for me, the ones that took it for for shimmer is gonna be Midori, Tomoe River paper, and aerofol. Alrighty, moving on to shading. I really feel bad for Rhodia, and it's funny that I do use this notebook to scribble and write a lot because it just does not do well with a lot of these properties. The shading, it looks like a dull color. Like it doesn't even look like the color it's supposed to shade into, which is sad because it's such a fun color. Immediately I saw it on the, not surprising, the Midori and the Fuji. That one shows off shading really beautifully. And then moving on to the next four, you don't really see it on the Maruman or the bank paper. It's a little bit dark on the Fuji. And again, I'm seeing like, at least on these samples, feathering on these two. The shading's really nice in here, but interestingly enough, the writing looks thicker on this one than it does on the other ones. So I feel like the ink didn't absorb as much, so your writing might be a little thicker on this if you're writing with like a fine versus like if you're writing on a fine with on Tomo River paper or Midori paper. But if we're not looking at that and we're looking at the samples and the shading, which is what the category was, I would have to give it to Earful, Midori, and Tomo River paper. All right, and the last one, we had the deep colors. So this one, I'll have to also show the sample of the back because it's kind of important to show how they reacted and how the bleed through is. So let's start off with, Rhodia. So like I said, I hadn't tested this paper out when I had originally tested the other 6 out. So this is me when I was doing these. I sampled it separately, and the results for the bleed through, unfortunately, Rhodia, you did terribly. It actually did really well in the green one, and then the other colors, maybe it was a lot, but you don't want to see that with the paper where you're maybe wanting to do a lot of swatching. So yeah, the bleed through was pretty terrible. So that was a no from Rhodia. Midori, these were the swatches I had originally done. And then this one's actually still a little wet, surprisingly. I had let this dry for a while. So let us see the results of this. And that one has some ghosting, but honestly, there's a lot of ink there, and that only has ghosting. It's not even bleed through. So, all right, Midori, that one is a top contender for winning out on like the bleed through deep tone category. Next we have, if I can find it, Tomo River paper. These are the inks I swatched originally. None of them are really dark. Maybe the brown was the darkest. And for that, unfortunately, there was some bleed through. It's kind of in between because like sometimes with bleed through you could get the ink through it. Again, I may have like oversaturated this. But for the fact that it did oversaturate it, that's not bad. You are gonna get a lot of, this is definitely heavier ghosting because you could see all these have it. And this is at least like this up to here is what I usually get when I'm writing in my Hobonichi. And this is like only if I'm using like a really juicy medium in like Yamabudo. So I don't get this a lot, and if I ever have that issue, I just kind of cover it with a sticker. But trying to be super truthful here, trying to be pretty transparent. There is, if you're going to be heavy-handed with your ink, there's going to be some bleed through. Or at least very, very heavy ghosting. That said, what was I going with this? I just blanked out. Nope, completely forgot what I was going with that. Maybe it'll come back to me. But okay, so that was with the Tomoe River paper. Tomoe River paper. Sometimes it's a tongue twister. Maybe I'll just keep saying TRP. It's a lot easier. Next up, we have the Maruman. Here we go. This one again, like I noticed a lot of, like the colors just weren't as vibrant. A lot of them just kind of felt a lot more muted. And this one also had not just like heavy ghosting bleeding, but like the ink went like speckly. You see that? And it also did it with the Yamabudo, which is like the more recent color. I don't know why it does that. I don't know, kind of like, I don't know, I really don't like it. So, Maruman, I'm sorry, but that's a no for me. All right, we have Bank next. Really good samples. This is the one that I noticed the most had feathering, and I still had that same issue with the JR Benkainite one. But let's see when it, yeah, this one, ghosting, but like very lightly. And again, as heavy-handed as I was with that Yamabudo, It only shows very little. So this is definitely the thickest of the papers. I would say this is probably like maybe 90 GSM, because like feeling the Rhodia, yeah, the Rhodia is lighter than this. Like this is definitely thicker. I didn't actually check all the paper types, like the weights, but just from sensation, you could feel something's thicker. So this is definitely the thickest paper of everything here. Second to last, we have the Usari, and this is the other one where, again, it's still trying because of how much ink I put on this. This one was, I mean, on the other samples when I was trying it, I really liked it. And yeah, very minimal bleed through. Again, only with this, and that was because I was very heavy-handed. Sorry about that. But yeah, it was actually not that bad. I think the only thing I have with this one is that it's just like, it's like right in the middle of the road. Like if you have this, it's not terrible. And maybe if you're gonna just use it to like jot things down, I would keep it. It's another one where it's like pretty heavy. It's like kind of rigid. But I have, like, I would not be upset if I had like a notebook with this paper in. Like it's pretty solid. And then the last one is Irreful. This one I've actually very surprised. I had never tried this, but I've really enjoyed how it works with them. Like in here, if this was supposed to be the Sheening one again, like unsurprisingly, it's gonna be Midori, TRP, and Irreful as like the top 3 Sheening papers. It wrote really nicely on it. It was smooth. It's thicker than TRP, probably equal to the Rhodia 80 GSM. And yeah, the colors are vibrant. The qualities on this were great. And you don't have a lot of bleed through. So, it's ghosting, but that's pretty much it. There's a little bleed through here and a couple spots here, but again, that's a matter of preference and how much it bothers you that something bleeds through or not. So, right, back to where we're going. So the ones that went out on the bleed through test were Midori. Can't give it to you. Can't give it to you. Gotta give it to Bank. Bank paper took that one. And then, ooh, okay. That's a toughie. Actually, I think I'm gonna give it to the Usari just because of how much ink I put on that one, and it like did not. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Usari as like the top, but just know that like the Irreful came in like the Irreful one. I didn't realize how close I was. Hold up. There we go. The Irreful came very close. Like this is like almost third. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun just kind of chatting. Well, me chatting with myself, you listening to me chat. And just kind of learn some fun stuff about paper and kind of how they react with it. I know there's obviously so much more out there now. I know right offhand, like I didn't test like Muji. A lot of people said Muji notebooks are great for fountain pens, but I didn't have time to go to Muji. So these are the ones I had, and yeah, this kind of, I guess, verified some of the ideas I had on paper. Like I knew that these were my 2 favorite, but now it has me kind of like really interested in trying out the Irreful and like seeing if anybody makes a notebook with that paper. And yeah, I just, again, I'm gonna bring this up, show everybody all the fun properties we tested out today, and hope you were able to stick around to the end. I'm excited because like I said, planner season is upon us. I'm interested in if you're, trying out a new planner for 2026, keeping with the same one. I'm definitely probably sticking to whatever I'm used to. But yeah, I hope this was a useful video, and I will be back in 2 weeks. I will see you then. Stay safe and healthy, and I will see you then. Bye.